2, 1, 2, stream check. 1, 2, audio stream check, 2.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Eric Schwartz, Dean of the Humphrey School of Public Affairs. On behalf of the faculty and the staff of our school, I am delighted to welcome you to today's commencement exercises. I want to thank our friend, Regent Abdul Amari, for presiding over the conferral of the degrees today. I also welcome Associate Vice Provost for Faculty and Academic Affairs, Rebecca Ropers-Hullman. As our students have heard me say probably more times than I should be saying, I believe that there is no better place in the country to study public affairs than the Humphrey School. You may applaud. And you may applaud at any moment you would like for the rest of the afternoon. With an extraordinarily talented and dedicated faculty, a deeply committed and mission-driven administrative staff, and an increasingly diverse and vibrant student body with energy, with enthusiasm, with a deep desire to make the most of their professional education. Indeed, in a school with so many different programs, human rights, public policy, international development practice, global policy, science, technology, and environmental policy, urban and regional planning, leadership, leadership and management, there is a remarkable degree of cohesion within our institution because our students are united in their objective to spend their professional lives trying to make the world a better place, and also united in their commitment to develop the tools to best achieve that laudable objective. And parents, partners, and friends with us today, you should feel awfully proud, not only of the accomplishments of your loved ones, but of the character and the quality of their commitments to public life. So now, please join me in applauding that commitment. And thank you for your support of our students. They have done you proud, and we hope we have served them well. Now, to my mind, serving them well has at least two dimensions. First, it is critical that we provide our students with the analytical tools for rigorous and evidence-based decision-making on issues in public life. And second, while we are a nonpartisan institution, we do indeed seek to promote a deep appreciation of the proposition that public institutions and our political leaders have a role and a responsibility to promote the values of a democratic society, including values that include non-discrimination, inclusion, equal rights, meaningful political participation, and justice for all. And these laudable objectives are, frankly, under stress in our national politics today. And let me start with a comment on the goal of rigorous and evidence-based decision-making. Whether we're talking about the scientific basis for policy decisions around climate change, the factual basis for security-based immigration restrictions, or the data, or the lack of data, relating to concerns about purported widespread and systemic voter fraud. Examples of evidence-free policymaking seem to be accumulating at the national level. Now, this not only disparages what we are trying to accomplish here at the Humphrey School, it makes it more likely that public decision-making will be irrational and therefore will ultimately consign our population and future American populations to greater hardship. More importantly, or as importantly, I think a second objective of our work here at Humphrey is also under stress. And that would be our efforts to train and support students to become empowered and effective political leaders whose work embodies a deep appreciation of their role and their responsibility to promote the values of a democratic society. Now, that objective is also under stress as a result of a highly polarized and charged politics at the national level, in which enlightened leadership is in shorter supply than it ought to be. But if that's the troubling news, the good news is that our graduating students, you all, are going to fix this. You have no alternative. It's what you have to do. It's what you have to do. And in fact, I'm heartened that we are sending you all, our students, into public life fortified by the Humphrey School, by Humphrey School training, and prepared, extremely well prepared, to do battle on behalf of these principles. And you can console yourself with the knowledge that these lofty principles have always been fragile in our national political life, have often been under stress, and have regularly, in our history, been vindicated by the kind of enlightened leaders you all will certainly be. I'm confident that you will be agents of progress and agents of change as a result of your coursework, your capstones, your internships, your engagement at this school, and your deep commitment to making this world a better place. At the same time, and this is perhaps more directed to my colleagues than to our students, those of us with responsibility to teach students who continue to come to the Humphrey School, we need to reflect on our teaching of leadership, of politics, of governance, and frankly, do more to enhance our efforts to train our students to be both ethical and effective political leaders as they seek to navigate complex political challenges, like the challenges of building informed consensus among large numbers of citizens and residents of our country who may have little interest in politics, but are deeply concerned about the well-being of their families and fearful about the future. In other words, we at the Humphrey School, we have to do better in helping future leaders to learn how to effectively shed light and not heat in our politics. Now, to bring this challenge of light versus heat into stark relief, it's not hard to think of a political leader who came from circumstances of great economic privilege, enjoying great popularity among a large percentage of a population facing economic uncertainty and fearful about the future, and with an oversized conception of his prerogatives as president. And we all know the name of this leader. It was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And his leadership is widely credited for enhancing the well-being of tens of millions of Americans, effectively resisting the allure of fascism, and sustaining the institutions of American democracy. So, even as we send our graduating students out to engage these very challenging political issues, we must continue to ponder ways to help develop future Roosevelts, to enhance our teaching of leadership, politics, and governance in a way that best prepares our students for success, ethical and honorable success, and girds them for complexity as they confront the vexing political challenges of a highly charged political system. Now that I'm going well over my allotted time, but I'm the dean, so I can, I want to move to another topic briefly. Some of you may have heard that I'm shortly going to step down as dean of the Humphrey School to become president of the Washington-based advocacy organization, Refugees International. Parents and loved ones, I hope they're not applauding the fact that I'm leaving, but you'll have to speak to them about that. Now, this was an excruciatingly difficult decision, as I'm leaving what might be the best job in the world, or at least the best job in Minnesota, although I say that advisedly because we have Senator Klobuchar with us. But like nearly all of you students, I received a public policy degree a few years before you were receiving your degree, with the desire and intention to be a practitioner in public life. And at a time when principles of humanitarianism and refugee protection are under existential threat, this seemed to me to be the right time to take up the challenge. So at this moment, I guess, I'm supposed to offer some very profound parting words of advice to you all. Well, you're about to be disappointed. You see, as I've thought about this, I've realized that I've been here for some 6 academic years. And what I've done, or what I failed to do, my body of work over time, says much more about who I am and what lessons I might impart to others than words that I might be able to craft for a Saturday afternoon presentation. But I suppose I have to say something. So let me say at least this about what I've tried to do over these years. I've tried to ensure that my focus has always been exclusively on the noble mission of the Humphrey School, with a conviction that we could easily address all other challenges, financial, administrative, bureaucratic, if we never lost sight of what came first: our mission to prepare future leaders to advance the common good in a diverse world. I've tried to advocate strongly, openly, and transparently for objectives that I believe serve the interests of our school and our community, whether that meant initiating a new human rights degree, urging the president of the university to take a strong position against a Muslim ban, supporting a lecture at the university by a controversial public figure who served as a cabinet member in a former administration, or pressing the university authorities on the appointment of the individual who will serve as my successor. And I've done so even when those objectives were opposed or occasionally condemned by friends, colleagues, or important stakeholders. But I've also worked hard to respect and to recognize the legitimacy of the views of others, and to sustain meaningful relationships and friendships with those who have not always shared my own views. I've tried to be an ally and an advocate for individuals and groups that have been victims of discrimination. And I've tried never to forget that being born on third base doesn't mean I hit a triple. I've tried to treat faculty, staff, and students with equal respect, and to appreciate my colleagues, my students, based not on their professional position, but rather on the contents of their character. I've tried to use this wonderful platform as Dean of the Humphrey School to speak out on the public issues that preoccupy our students, our faculty, our staff, and our community. And I've tried to remind myself, not always successfully, but I've tried to remind myself that whatever my dedication to making the world a better place, that's all rather meaningless unless I'm doing right by the most important commitments in my life, to my wife, Kathy, and my daughters, Sarah and Anna. I've sought in good faith to achieve all these goals while strengthening this great institution. I don't think it's up to me to judge how successful I might have been in all that I've tried to do, but I will say that the progress at the school has been an enormous source of joy for me. And what I do know is that every day for me here at the Humphrey School has been better than the day before, that I valued deeply the chance to serve as a steward for this extraordinary School of Public Affairs, And finally, that I'm eternally grateful for the support I've received and the friendships I've made. So thank you all so much. All right, enough of that. Now it's time to begin our program, and I will present several academic awards. The names of these awards and the criteria for which they are given are listed toward the back of your program for reference. Some awards are for group projects, and because we would like to hear the names of all of the winners, I have to contradict myself, according to the teleprompter, and tell you to please hold your applause until after I've recognized the recipient or recipients of an award. The first award is the Diversity Paper Award. Established in 2011, it recognizes a student or students who demonstrate the highest level of excellence on a topic related to public policy issues affecting diverse populations in the United States or globally. This year's award goes to a group of students for their capstone paper entitled Prospects for a New Global Treaty on the Elimination of Violence Against Women. In their paper, Maram Falk, Alexandra Sevet, and Lauren Walker Bloom address how the global community should address the problem of violence against women and present ways that non-governmental organizations can influence the development of international norms and conventions. So congratulations on your well-deserved award. Will all of you please stand? The Robert C. Einsweiler Award is given for the best paper or project in planning that demonstrates intellectual insight and creativity and consideration of the political environment. This award goes to a group of students: Chloe McGuire Briggle, Hannah Gary, and Connor Schaefer for their paper that addresses gentrification, equity, and community development, all relevant and pressing issues in the Twin Cities political environment. The students are recognized for offering creative solutions and tools for engaging communities on issues of equity. Congratulations, and please stand and be recognized. The Freeman Stassen Award for International Activities challenges students to excel in exploring and confronting global issues. These activities can include innovation that helps strengthen the school's global policy program, a professional or course paper, or engagement in field work. This year's award is given to Mickey Kukl for her professional paper analyzing the local labor market integration of Syrian refugees in Jordan. Nominating Professor Raghi Assad called the paper a real tour de force for its rigorous evidence-based analysis of the effects of large inflows of Syrian refugees to Jordan since 2011. He says, and I quote, "It is an area where there is little evidence-based knowledge and where speculation and guesswork run rampant." Please stand and be recognized. The Grouse Family Management and Leadership Award is presented to individual and team papers focused on management, leadership, or public service delivery. And this year we present a group award to Emily Coppersmith, Jargalma Erdemin Andak, and Laura Langer for their project that evaluates City of Brooklyn Park's rebranding initiative. The project addresses the city's significant image that is heavily skewed due to its diversity and division. It included outcome mapping and social media application of opinion polls, and also presented creative and original recommendations for action for City of Brooklyn Park. The Hubert Award is given to students who demonstrate the highest level of excellence in using a multimedia or video project to communicate public policy, urban planning, and management topics. And this year's award is presented to Benjamin Andrews, Corey Anderson, and Connor Schaefer for their video on the I think it's the Bungee Tower in St. Paul. I'm laughing because I mangled a similar local pronunciation in another event with Senator Klobuchar a couple of years ago. So she tends to come when I mess up on local institutions. But this tower is produced for a historical preservation course. In their video, the students tell the story of the abandoned grain elevator, once a hub of agriculture business and now a community landmark, and use it as a case study to explore how developers, city leaders, and the community can work together on preservation projects. Please stand and be recognized. We have two Master of Public Affairs paper awards to present. The first is given for the best paper by a student or team and goes to 7 students, including 4 MPA students. They are Margie Andreasen, Alan Roy, Mark Scogan, and Susan Wooten, Ashley Norris, Suzanne O, Patrick Roizen, and Scott Vargo. They wrote their winning paper entitled City of Minneapolis Performance-Informed Budgeting Research and Recommendations for Professor John Bryson's Strategic Planning and Management class at the request of the City of Minneapolis. The paper is one of a series written by Humphrey School students to help Minneapolis enhance its strategic planning, budgeting, and performance management process. Congratulations, students. The second of these awards is the MPA Leadership Paper Award, presented to a student who can illustrate his or her own awareness of personal leadership growth and assessment of leadership capacity. The MPA faculty have selected Fun Fun Cheng as this year's recipient. The faculty remarked on Fun Fun's year-long effort to deepen her understanding of how race, culture, and history inform the person she has become and the leader she aspires to be. Fun Fun's service on nonprofit boards informed her work, while reflections on course content guided her actions and enhanced her understanding of leadership. All the while, she willingly shared these insights and practiced her findings, serving as a role model for her classmates. Congratulations, Fun Fun. Please stand. The Lloyd B. Short Award for the Best Master's Paper is selected on the basis of the importance of the issue and the quality of the analysis and writing. This year's winners are Jonathan Watkins, William Dumas, and Jargalma Erdenim Andak. Lawrence Karango and Jung Tek O. And 2 more, Derek Teed and Wenchen Wang. Their paper, entitled Origins and Consequences of the Humphrey-Hawkins Act of 1978, examines the impact of the last piece of legislation co-authored by Senator Humphrey, our school's namesake. Student, you've already stood and be recognized, but thank you for your contribution. In addition to providing excellent education and professional training, our school prides itself on developing and honing leadership skills and encouraging good citizenship and service. Each year, committees made up of students, faculty members, and alumni are challenged to select just a few student leaders for special recognition in these areas. The Gary M. de Kramer Public Leadership Award honors the memory of Gary de Kramer, who directed our Master of Public Affairs program for 10 years and co-founded our MPA cohort. The recipient is either a graduating MPA student, public affairs leadership student, certificate student, or an international fellow who has demonstrated exemplary leadership. This year's recipient is Rahim Agayev. As founder of a local NGO in Azerbaijan that promotes volunteerism among youth and seeks policy change on issues affecting marginalized populations, Rahim has helped to find transition homes for young people leaving the state orphanage system and women in crisis. The work of his program gained the support and participation of the First Lady of Azerbaijan to lead a program to build several new facilities. His work crosses sectors, his approach demonstrates authentic compassion, and his drive is fueled by an inner faith that cares for the inner spiritual needs of the individuals he supports. Congratulations, Rahim. Your work embodies the values that Gary de Kramer stood for as director of our MPA program. Please stand. The Jernberg Award for Student Life was created to recognize Professor Emeritus Jim Jernberg, whose work and contributions to the Humphrey School have helped to sustain and strengthen this institution enormously over the past many years. This year, the award is presented to Erin Trudson, voted the winner by her peers. One nominator applauded Erin's guidance and commitment to the school community, calling her, I quote, a wonderful force in bringing people together. The nomination noted Erin's, quote, amazing job as the social chair of the Public Affairs Student Association and success in facilitating things both within and outside of the role that brought students together socially and academically. Warm congratulations, Erin. The last award for our program is the Class of 1999 Paul and Sheila Wellstone Award for Public Action and Academic Excellence, which honors two great public servants. The entering class of 1999 created this award to recognize a Humphrey School student whose dedication and service to progressive ideals and work toward social justice suggest a career path that emulates the Wellstone's core values. And this year's recipient is Comfort Dando. The selection committee was greatly impressed with Comfort's ability to transform her lived experience into social justice and empowerment for women and children in both an international and local context. Working in the African immigrant and refugee community, Comfort has created a nonprofit organization to increase cultural awareness and understanding of the unique challenges that women and girls of African descent face as survivors of domestic violence, and hopes to open the organization's first African women's shelter. A supporting letter notes, and I quote, I believe that if Paul and Sheila Wellstone were still with us, they would be enthusiastic champions for her vision. Comfort, if you haven't done so already, please stand and be recognized. It's now my pleasure to introduce this afternoon's student speaker. Amina Safi is a Syrian, French, Muslim American who is called to serve as the voice of the voiceless. When it comes to issues of diversity, equity, and civil rights, she has established herself on campus and beyond as a force to be reckoned with. Before coming to the Humphrey School, her activism and her research were acknowledged by the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, featured at the Minnesota State Capitol, and by her former alma mater, Augsburg College. At the Humphrey School, she has broadened our understanding of diversity, challenged us to confront our biases, and continuously reminds us to uphold authenticity in our public policy work. On a personal note, let me mention that I was moved in February when I received a personal note from Amina in the aftermath of attacks on Jewish institutions in Minnesota and elsewhere. Amina, who knows I am Jewish, sent me articles and information documenting support and solidarity with the Jewish community from the Twin Cities Muslim community, and ended her note by writing, and I quote, "I hope these actions can bring some joy to you, your family, and community." Indeed, they did. Her note provides some insight not only about this remarkable young woman, but also, frankly, about our broader community. So please join me in welcoming this year's student speaker, Amina Safi.
Thank you, Dean Schwartz, and thank you to all those who nominated me, those who voted for me, for giving me homework on my graduation day. No, really, thank you for giving me the opportunity and having faith, having faith in me to present this speech. Since my activism does not stop with my being your commencement speaker today, throughout my speech, I'll utilize Arabic or Islamic phrases and explain them to you so that we can normalize Arabic and Islam, yes, as also being an American way of life. So I'd like to start out with the Muslim greeting of peace be upon you all, or Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Don't be scared, but it seems that we have some Muslims amongst us. Hey, class of 2017, remember our first semester of the Humphrey when we all had the imposter syndrome? Well, look at yourself today after all the stata assignments, memos, and capstone of professional research. Each one of you has proven that you deserve to be here today. We did it. Congratulations. I'm responsible for sharing with you some great pieces of wisdom and inspiring you to go out knowing that you will be underpaid and underappreciated to make this world a better place for everyone. The best way I know how to do this is by being personal. So brace yourself for getting to know Amina Safi perhaps more so than you were intending. Everyone should celebrate their efforts in getting here today. Let us recognize the amount of social events, family, Netflix, and sleep you had to turn down in order to obtain this degree. Nonetheless, it would be highly disingenuous not to recognize that some of us had many more weights and hurdles to overcome than others. I don't know what it's like to be a black man or an undocumented immigrant, but I do know what it was like for me, a Syrian Muslim American woman, to get a master's in public policy at the Humphrey. In my very first week, I was asked by a well-intentioned colleague if I was given this Clinton scholarship because I'm Syrian, denying me the ability to offer anything more than my ethnicity. Take the imposter syndrome and multiply it by 10, and that is how I was feeling. This is in addition to conversations about how much of a threat Syrians like me posed and whether or not we should allow them into the country. Of course, with elections and Islamophobes like Mr. Trump, there is the overall discussion of Islam as a disease that is plaguing the world and increasing violent extremism. This being said, while ignoring the fact that Muslims account for less than 7% of violent attacks in the United States. Don't be mistaken, these conversations happen amongst people who come from educated backgrounds. Even with all of this going on, to the disdain of some, I built and I thrived. People of color who are constantly dehumanized, belittled, and marginalized thrive. Native Americans whose land we're all standing on hold firmly to their culture and send women like Peggy Flanagan to the Minnesota House of Representatives and immigrant black women like Ilhan Omar. So people can sure as heck make things difficult, But that won't stop people of color from leveraging the resources available to them to ensure that they are heard. In order to carry forth the great privilege and responsibility of having obtained exceptional education, we must always exercise three things: authenticity, allyship, and yes, the often ingrained term of the Humphrey, networking. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, authenticity means to be true to one's own personality, spirit, or character, sincere and authentic without pretensions, conforming to or based on fact, and last, it means something that conforms to an original so as to produce essential features. As policy graduates, this means that when you go out there and work with different communities, even if you have preconceived notions about them, you keep those in the reservoir of your mind and let them tell their own story. It means that we listen to their needs and their desires without a preconceived notion of what we think their desires are, what we think their capabilities are, or what we think are the solutions that they need. Not doing so without realizing it, we would engage in social imperialism. And I remember in our management of organizations class, when we discussed the pay rates of Carlson graduates and Humphrey graduates, we emphasized that we chose the field of public affairs because we care about the common good, more than we care about a big paycheck. We care about making people's lives better, not just advancing on to a job where we can get more money. I ask you to remember that. In the chaos of the world we live in today, we need you to hold on to that value now more than ever. Me standing before you today and giving you this speech is proof that even if you are tiny, soft-spoken, and look like a teenager, you can still have an impact. Don't let Don't let society's perception of you shape how you act. As bombarding as it may be, don't internalize their stereotypes and negativity. I say this especially to people of color, women, and women of color. You can't miss the fact that I'm a conservative Muslim woman. The stereotypes you have probably heard about people who look like me are that I'm oppressed, my religion is dangerous, and that I hate the West. Judging by the fact that I got enough people to vote for me to speak before you today, hopefully lets you know that I did not wait to be given permission to talk, nor has my religion prevented me from succeeding in any way. Rather the opposite. My religion has been my biggest support system to withstand the whirlwinds thrown my way. When people tell you that you're not good enough, when they constantly doubt your intelligence and capabilities, when they get intimidated by your presence around them, let your self-confidence shine higher than their ignorance of you. Remind yourself that just like all other human beings, you bleed red, breathe the same air, and was created by God that cares not for the color of your skin or physical appearance, but one who cares about the piety of your heart. The holiness of your life and being is a God-given entitlement that no one, no teacher, no cop, no president can take away from you. Hold on to that. Now, I want everyone to listen, but especially my white colleagues and friends in the audience. Whether you like it or not, you have been given much privilege based on no other reason than your whiteness. It is not your fault that society we live in has uplifted your characteristics to be superior than others, but the power you have been given necessitates great responsibility. We all need to be better allies to people of color. I know the challenges that come with this, considering that I too hold white privilege in Muslim communities, where, unlike on the national sphere, my religion takes a backseat and my skin color is the driving force. Without a Muslim even knowing me, the fact that I'm Arab and can speak Arabic socially places me on a higher pedestal than other Muslims. I'm thought of as having a greater understanding of Islam, and therefore more practicing, without there being an actual test of my understanding and implementation of the principles. I work with my Muslim friends of color to learn from them how I can use my advantage to uplift them. So yes, I sometimes know what it's like to have privilege. I also know what it's like to be treated like a dangerous disease. The supposed Syrian Muslim who believes in violence and the destruction of the West and all things not Muslim. Having had the ability to be in these two spheres, allow me to tell you how to be an ally. Not someone who wants to be the good white person, but an authentic ally that empowers the people of color around them. The first step to doing this is to listen without assuming you have all the answers. This is the opposite of the savior complex. If there is a conversation that concerns people of color, give them the microphone. Don't speak to them referencing a colonized story of who they are, what they are like, and what they care about. Come in with an open mind so that you truly hear them and see them as equal, capable human beings like you are. Don't come in presuming that you already have the solution, but ask them what they want and how they want it, regardless of what you think they need. They are smart people and who can manage life well when given the opportunity and resources to do so. If you have If you have received an email from me, I hope you took the time to read the quote after my signature. It is one of the verses in the Quran that I use to guide my life that I hope you will find inspiration from. I will first read it in Arabic to familiarize everyone with the language and hopefully reduce the number of 911 calls that happen, then offer an English translation. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهما فلا تتبعوا الهوى أن تعدلوا وإن تلووا أو تعرضوا فإن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا. O you who believe, stand out firmly for justice as witnesses to Allah, even as against yourselves or your parents or your kin, and whether it be against rich or poor. For Allah can best protect both. Follow not the lusts of your breasts or your hearts, lest you swerve. And if you distort justice or decline to do justice, verily Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. I call upon all of us to reflect as this verse does, to speak the truth even if it makes you the culprit. We all have heard about the bystander effect, where none of us do something because we think someone else will. This past election was a result of some of our fellow Americans not believing in the power of a woman or that their vote will make a difference, that someone else will go out there and put in the work to make sure the right candidate makes it into the White House. As policy graduates, I don't think we have that luxury. The Humphrey has taught us to do better and be better than to minimize the impact each one of us is capable of having. Be an ally. Speak up. When you see someone saying or acting in a way that dehumanizes or disrespects someone else, remember that you went to a school called the Humphrey, an institution named after a man that said, "Today we know that the World War II began not in 1939 or 1941, but in the 1920s and 1930s, when those who should have known better persuaded themselves that they were not their brother's keeper." I hope you all voted for me to I hope you all voted for me to stand up here knowing that I can get carried on about things I care about. But I'll be moving on to my third and final point. We all need to network, not only because Jennifer Geyer Wood tells us to, but because none of us can do things alone. The power of working together was seen in the Women's March on Washington that was led by a Muslim, a Mexican, Black, and white woman. I don't stand before you as someone who is superior to you in any way. I'm just a servant of God, although I know that not all of you believe in one, who asks you to see the good potential in yourself and the people around you. Because we need that faith. We need to build community now more than ever. I will tell you that I know many Syrians who have lost everything, and the number one thing that they seek is a sense of belonging and community. They have lived through bombs, no food, and the unimaginable. What they need most is that human connection, and I think we all need that, but we must do this without greed. We must not put our rights before others. We must not think of our life as more valuable than the life of a Syrian, Palestinian, Mexican, or Black. Imagine what would have happened if Jews were supported from day one under Hitler and the US didn't sit and wonder if stopping that lunatic was worth it. See, when we for a moment think that we deserve to live more than someone else, we have immediately lost the battle for humanity. because humanity requires that you focus on your interconnectedness before you focus on your differences. It requires that you think of someone else's pain as your very own and take on the risk of helping like you would if your own life was on the line. That is the humanity we need to reach for true peace to come about. You cannot be a true ally or build a strong community if you place your comfort above someone else. Because guess what? There will be times when you benefit from the status quo and you will question whether you want things to change. In conclusion, I would like to remind you of the words of Dr. King and Hubert Humphrey. King said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." Finally, Humphrey stated very wisely that it is not what they take away from you that counts. It's what you do with what you have left. Thank you, everyone, for granting me the honor to speak before you today and lending me an attentive ear. Thank you.
Well, there's no place I'd rather be this afternoon. Thank you, Amina, for those wonderful words. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker, U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar. Senator Klobuchar has been a long friend of the Humphrey School, and for the past 6 years, she has been a great supporter of everything that we have done. I should also mention that at my farewell reception on April 27th, Senator Klobuchar's kind and very witty video was the hit of the evening. And I was both very moved and very grateful. Since her election to the U.S. Senate in 2006, Senator Klobuchar has earned a reputation as an effective, results-driven legislator, willing to reach across the aisle to get things done. Last Congress, she ranked first on a list of all 100 senators with the most bills that have been enacted into law. A consistent champion for expanding access to higher education, Senator Klobuchar has led efforts to make college more affordable and to reduce the burden of student loan debt. She successfully fought to expand access to Pell Grants and is currently pushing for a bill that would allow students to refinance their loans. Senator Klobuchar. Senator Klobuchar has also focused on fairness, on accountability, on transparency in government. She was recently named ranking member of the Senate Rules Committee, you're supposed to say the influential Senate Rules Committee, which is responsible for overseeing federal elections and good governance. And she's currently working to restore reasonable campaign finance rules and increased transparency of campaign spending by special interests. So it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eric. It is just a treat to be here. I will say, bringing you greetings as your senior senator. I always like to say that when Franken's around, usually. that we are a state where the women are strong, right? The men are good looking, right, Eric? And all the Humphrey graduates are above average. So thank you so much. So, Amina, maybe you already gave the commencement speech, I would say. That was just incredible. I was thinking, having visited Syria before this horrific conflict broke out, and seeing the beauty of the country and seeing where it is now, and knowing your personal struggles in your life. That last quote, man, that was yours. You have made so much of what you have been left with, so much. So thank you so much. And by the way, we need more people in Washington that look like teenagers, so please join us. And I especially wanted to thank Abdul, who turned to me when you were done and said, "You've got to follow that now." Okay, that was really a nice words of confidence. Thank you, that really made me feel welcome. Eric, congratulations for your incredible leadership. You have created new programs, you've expanded both career and financial support, you've increased recruitment of faculty, and guess what? As a result of all this, of you, Eric, of the faculty on the stage, of all of you and your parents, the school was ranked as a top 10 graduate school of public affairs for the first time in its history. You guys all did that, all of you. So not only are you going to be missed, Dean, by all of the people in this room, I am especially going to miss having our little chats at Humphrey events, especially when we are joined by protesters. Those are always fun. I never forget a protester, ever. It is really true, though. He's made such a difference. And I'm so excited at this time of such tumult that Dean Schwartz has decided to take on the refugee issue. So thank you so much, Dean, for the work that you're doing. You are in very good hands with Dean Laura Bloomberg. Your next dean, by the way, has each paper. I love the personal interest. As some of the award winners were announced, she turned to me and said, "That was a really good paper." Now, I won't tell you which one she said that to, but that was very cool. And I also wanted to just acknowledge all the parents and friends that are here. And I can't think, for the moms out there, what a better Mother's Day present than seeing your kid graduate. So, very good. So, 40 years, the Humphrey School has done incredible things, including, as many of you may know, being the site of my wedding celebration. Yes, romantic that it is. We didn't have any money for flowers, so we had balloons that were then released by my high school prom date. And my mother started to cry because she said it would hurt the environment. That actually happened outside of the Humphrey School on my wedding night. Then it was raining so hard, and after the microphone broke when Walter Mondale went up to the stage, because my dad, in an Iron Range way, had thrown it down really hard, and when Mondale picked it up, it no longer worked, and he made some Watergate reference, which is actually not funny anymore. And then my husband was off having fun, drinking beer. My roommate from college's breast pump, she had just had a baby, was taken by the Korean bakery in St. Paul when they brought back the cake stuff, and she no longer had it. And we got in the car, and it was pouring rain, and my husband turned to me right in the parking lot and said, "Wasn't that just the greatest wedding?" And I burst out in tears. Everything went wrong, the breast pump, the blah, blah. And all he had for a Kleenex was that soggy wedding bell that he took off and gave to me. So you see, I have such happy memories of the Humphrey Institute. But I actually do. You do incredible work, and I've been so honored to have all of you as part of this incredible program. Hubert Humphrey, now more than ever, we need happy warriors in Washington, D.C. He loved politics. One time a few years ago, I showed a documentary about Humphrey to our staff, and it was dark in the room. And at the very end, I forgot, they scrolled down every single bill that he ever worked on. And it was like that he had passed, and it was like 150 of them. And then the lights went on, and they're all like that, because he really did incredible work. So it's a great namesake to have for this institution. And thank you so much for following in his footsteps. I love the work that I've heard you've all worked on. By the way, I love the Brooklyn Park rebranding. We need a little rebranding in Washington right now. That maybe you guys could do a paper on that. Give us some ideas. You're a hub for students who can't wait until they graduate. Heather Heyer, one of today's graduates who spent her summer not taking it easy on a Minnesota lake, but working hard for the Denver election division. Great example. Mark Bessonen, another student graduating today who couldn't even wait for the summer to start before doing foreign policy research for the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. And look what your graduates have done. This is your future, right? Jasmine Jones, Humphrey School graduate, who's working in Liberia to find ways to engage youth in public health issues. Emily Kuhn, who recently started One My Vote. Scott DeLisi, who serves as the executive director of the Soarway Foundation, focusing on disaster risk reduction. And then, of course, one of my staff members who walked across the stage just last year, Garrison. Garrison, where are you, man? You must be out. Are you going to come on out, man? There he is. Anyway, he's doing a great job for us. Yeah. So, that's just a few examples for you to aspire to. So, a lot of really big things have happened in the last few months, as everyone knows. Was that a little scream for a reason? A little baby out there. One of the things you might not have noticed of great import is that I was officially displaced as the most famous Slovenian American in Washington, D.C. by Melania Trump. That actually happened. That is true. She was born an hour away from where my relatives are from in Slovenia. And as I said at the National Prayer Breakfast, every time I look at her, it's like looking in the mirror. So we have all gotten used to the new world, sort of. I, for one, and no matter where you are politically, I think everyone will agree that election night was a big surprise, no matter what side you were on. For me, I was actually, this is a good student story, I was running around with Franken, my junior senator, and we were giving all these speeches, and then I was just kind of stunned and doing TV, and then I got home at about midnight, and I realized, and the moms here will relate to this, that I had forgotten where my daughter was. She's 21. She's actually graduating in a week, and from college, not like you guys. No, like, okay. And I had forgotten that she was at Hillary's party in New York. And she sent me this text, and it said, "What should we do now?" And I wrote this long mom guilt text back, right? It's like, the subways are still running. I checked. Our friends are waiting for you to come stay at their house. You cannot stay there anymore, even if they tell you to. This isn't good. She's not going to speak. This is going bad. It's very sad. And you need to leave, and you have class tomorrow. That is what I wrote back. And then she writes back, "Mom, I mean our country." Okay, true story. So I said to her that night, I said, you know what? Our country has been through tough times before. We've been through wars, injustice and discrimination, financial crisis, deep-seated discord, and through it all, we've always had a peaceful transition of power, and we always have kept moving forward. I still believe that today. So, all of that being said, right now, I can't think of a more important thing than being in the U.S. Senate, because we are an emergency break, but we are also a place where compromise can be made. We have people that are willing to work across the aisle, and to hopefully, I loved Eric's comments at the beginning of what you guys talk about here, people who want to make the world a better place. We have a few of those, okay, we do, in the Senate. Okay, this one's harder. evidence-based. Okay, some days I think we live in an evidence-free zone in Washington, D.C., but this idea of trying to get to the bottom of facts and figuring out what happened, very important. And then the third one, which is this promotion of values. And so one of the things I hope you take with you in this really difficult time is that. And Eric made some references to this, of working in a way where you understand where someone else is coming from, even if you don't agree with them politically. Looking at where other people are getting their news, except don't look at news that is not real news, right? Look at other people's news and understand where they're coming from, and listen and listen and listen, and do it with respect, because there's such a lack of respect right now of institutions in this country. It's not just government, it's everything from religious institutions to business institutions, and we have to get back some of that respect. And it's not easy to do if you just watch the news all the time and see the wrestling match that many people believe Washington to be. That has not been my experience for the last 10 years, because I think there's so many people of merit that want to do the right thing, but we are being severely tested. And I have never so much talked about our Constitution as I have in the last few months. And no matter where you are from politically, you must agree that we must stand up for our three branches of government, and that includes the judiciary, who, as Hamilton once said, has neither the, I like to quote Hamilton these days, it's kind of good, has neither the power of the sword, right, nor the power of the purse. They have the power given to them by the Constitution. And as a daughter of the journalists, I believe every day we have to stand up for the freedom of the press. That is so important to our democracy that we do that. And then, for you, whoever's out there that worked at that Denver election place, we have to stand up for the very principle of democracy and elections, which is under assault right now. And I thought Marco Rubio, one of my Republican colleagues, who said it best. Okay, can I just tell you one funny little Marco Rubio story? I just thought of this. When we were taken on the bus to the White House for the briefing on North Korea, which was a very important briefing, but let's just say we didn't quite understand why we had to go to the White House when we always have them in the Senate. We all got on that bus because we were going to do the right thing. And as we were getting off, I was sitting with Senator McCain, who's one of my best friends there. Marco Rubio stood up and looked at the whole bus and said, of senators, and said, "I would have never done this to you guys." Okay, all right. It's a little Republican joke, Republican joke. Okay, so, but what Marco Rubio said a few months ago, that right now this assault from a foreign country, which our founders felt was so important to our Constitution, right? That's why they were worried way back then about Great Britain, right, influencing our elections. But this assault from a foreign country on our democracy, as Senator Rubio said, right now it was one party and one candidate, but the next time it'll be the other party and the other candidate. And that's why it is really important on a bipartisan basis to get to the bottom of what happened, but more importantly, as you guys all go out into the world of politics, to figure out how we can stop this from happening again. And to me, that means an independent commission with the purpose of which is not maybe what some of you think, but the purpose of which is to figure out what are the rules of the game if this happens again. If Russia does this again, or if another country does this to us, what do we do? Do we allow campaigns just to use this? In the French elections, they didn't really do that. When the media got hold of that cyber attack hack, they didn't really put that out there a few days before. And so it's figuring out what the media will do, what our candidates will do, what the parties will do, and how we can best protect ourselves. So that's going to be your job going forward. That's why you're getting this great degree, right? Because we have to think about this as a protection for our democracy. Okay, so those are kind of the values things that I've been on my mind lately. Second, economics, thinking about how we can best prepare ourselves for the challenging world before us, because not every student, and we really have to come to grips with this, wants to get a graduate degree or even a college degree. And we have to look at the jobs that are out there right now, where we have to do more with apprenticeships and community colleges and things like that. because we really have to prepare ourselves, and that really melds into refugees and immigration reform. We cannot forget that 25% of our Nobel laureates were born in other countries, right? 70 of our Fortune 500 companies are headed up by immigrants. And right now we have a situation where the Wild hockey team, there got to be a hockey team fans out there. The Wild hockey team that we love, they have unlimited visas to bring in hockey players from what country? Canada, that's right. We can see Canada from our porch, right? So they have these unlimited visas to do that. But in our country, if Mayo Clinic wants to bring in the spouse of a doctor or of 3M, it's really difficult to do. And so we have to think about immigration reform, not only in that humanitarian piece of it and the moral piece of it, but also in the economic future of our country. So remember that as you go forward. Last thing I want to talk about was just this general issue of internationalism. And what I've learned pretty quickly in the last few years is that even if you want to isolate yourself from the rest of the world, which is certainly not our goal at the Humphrey Institute, the rest of the world doesn't let you. Eventually, international problems and opportunities come knocking at your door. They come for me with a phone call from a scared dad whose daughter's high school sports team is marooned in Guatemala by a mudslide. That happened. Or during a meeting with local steelworkers who are irate over illegal dumping of steel from China. Or a Minnesota family of a young man imprisoned in Iran for hiking in the mountains. Or another one who was put behind bars in the United Arab Emirates for simply posting a YouTube video. And it wasn't even that outrageous. You can watch it. He was in prison for a year. Or when a student asks how we can prevent Russia from undermining the power of her vote in elections moving forward. In our state, and this is the exciting part, we have tended to embrace internationalism. Certainly the University of Minnesota, by all these students here, has embraced internationalism, right? And I believe that's what we should be doing. Our state has one of the highest rates of international adoptions. We have an incredibly strong business community that goes back and forth and works overseas all of the time. And we've always had a moral commitment in our state at its core, going way back to some of our early missionaries to work overseas and to work with people that look different than ourselves. So with that, I think one of the last challenges that I ask you to take on is something that Amina probably did so much better than I ever could, and that is to make sure that we include everyone. I'll never forget being at a mosque in Minneapolis a few months ago and hearing the story of a family, and the parents actually had been here through 9/11. I was the Hennepin County attorney back then. I remember the Bush-appointed U.S. attorney and I went all around to the Muslim community in Minnesota and said, let us know if you have any hate crimes, if there's backlash, we stand by you. That was the order of President Bush to do that, and we did that, and it was the right thing to do. Well, these parents had experienced nothing bad during that time. And then this last summer, now they're married, they've got kids, they go to a restaurant for dinner. And this guy walks by and he looks down at their family and he says, you four go home. You go home to where you came from. And this little girl looks up at her mom and she says, Mom, I don't want to go home for dinner tonight. You said we could eat out tonight. I don't want to go home. You think of the words of that innocent child. She only knew one home, and that was Minnesota. She didn't even know what he was talking about. She only knew one home, and that was our state. And she only knew one home, and that was the United States of America. So your job, graduates, as you go out there, because this is your home too, is to make sure that that little girl and everyone understands that every day. That is this true civic engagement that you've learned from this great institution. So you just remember that. And you remember that civic engagement can mean the little things like volunteering. They can mean big things like running for office or getting involved in the campaigns. It can mean treating people with respect. If you're a Republican, trying to be nice to Democrats, Democrats trying to be nice to Republicans. It can mean showing yourself involved in other ways. That march that Amina mentioned, the next day after that, over 6,000 women signed up to run for office who had never run. They signed a postcard saying that they wanted to run. Or one of my favorite marches, the March for Science, where we had over 10,000 people. My favorite sign at that march, that radical march that it was, it's a joke. What do we want? Science. When do we want it? After peer review. Okay, that is like a sign that warms the hearts of every Humphrey graduate. So, this is truly your moment, class of 2017, your moment to shine, your moment this weekend to make all those moms happy for all those years on Mother's Day. So congratulations. I know Hubert Humphrey would be as proud of you as I am. Thank you for including me. Thank you.
Boy, I think we go in our speakers from strength to strength to strength, and we're about to have another one. Thank you so much, Senator Klobuchar, for those wonderful remarks. It is now my pleasure to introduce, I don't know if you've met her yet, our associate dean, Laura Bloomberg. Well before the terrific news that Associate Dean Bloomberg, Laura, would be succeeding me as dean on June 12th, we asked her to offer some words to our graduates this afternoon. For 4.5 years, Laura has served as our Associate Dean, as my dear friend, and as a caring and wise advisor on all matters, large, medium-sized, and small. She is creative, she is thoughtful, and she is deeply dedicated to the Humphrey School and its mission. And she's the most effective administrator I have encountered in my professional life. We are so very fortunate that Provost Hanson had the deep wisdom to appoint Laura as dean, and under her leadership, the school will certainly sustain the progress achieved in recent years, but more importantly, will soar to much greater heights. So Laura, the podium is yours.
Graduating class of 2017. It's so good to see you all out there. You've been doing a lot of listening, and I will be brief, but I do have a couple of things that I really do want to share with you this afternoon. And I am going to be serious, just so you know, and personal. I want to start with gratitude and end by inviting you to join me in thinking about a really serious and personal question. So first, the gratitude. I invite you to take this opportunity to, again, thank the people here today who love you, who are so proud of you, and who are so happy to see you have gotten to this point. These are the parents, the spouses, the partners, the children, the cherished friends who have been with you as you have journeyed on this graduate school path and who are here to celebrate with you today. So please turn to the people who know and love you and thank them for being here today. The senator mentioned that it's Mother's Day weekend. For those people who are in the audience who are diehard Minnesotans and also sporting people, I'd also like to recognize the fact that it's the opening of fishing season, and we're really glad you're here despite that. I'd also like to thank the individuals here with me on the stage. These are the scholars who helped you get to this point today, and these are the individuals who collectively will be here to encourage you, to advocate for you, to recommend you for jobs, and in many cases, to become your lifelong mentors and colleagues. I'd especially like to recognize Professor Barbara Crosby, who will be retiring this year. Many of you know Dr. Crosby, and some of you may not know her personally, but if you are an MPA student, or if you have been engaged in any way with our leadership and management area in the school, you know that you will know now that you have been deeply impacted by her many years of commitment to the development of excellent academic programs in this school. And one more time, I would also like to recognize Dean Eric Schwartz as he presides over his last commencement ceremony as dean before he leaves for Refugees International in June. So please join me in congratulating and thanking all of the people on the stage. The congratulating part is because I think they get some level of credit for getting you here today. So back to you. Here's the question that I want you to reflect on as you transition from your role as graduate student to your next professional adventure. It's a big question, though. Just one, but it's a big one. What does it take to really advance effective policy and practice in the world? I'm not talking now about drafting good policies or conceptualizing or analyzing or writing good policy memos, all of which are important, by the way, and all of which I hope you leave here knowing something about. I'm asking you a deeply personal question. What does it take to really make it happen? And for today, I really do want you to think about this at a personal level. What does this concept of advancing effective policy and practice mean for us in our daily lives, for you and for me, as we move forward, as you complete this degree? We all want to change the world, but we all have to start somewhere, this afternoon, or tomorrow, in fact. I don't have all the answers for how this happens. I have a lot of opinions, but not a lot of answers. But here's one thing that I do know for sure. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. Effective public policy never happens in a vacuum. It happens in community. So I met most of you, by my count about 75% of you, for the first time when you first got to the Humphrey School and joined me in the Working in Teams class. Sometimes before you even started orientation, we were together in that class. We spent time in that class together exploring how professionals build high-functioning teams to advance a goal. We talked about order and chaos. We talked about what we can learn from team decision-making from organizations like Google. We talked about freeloaders, not that that ever happens. We talked about managing professional bullies. We talked about how to ensure accountability. And at the end, one of your class assignments was to write about what seemed most significant to you about building high-performing professional teams. So in recent days, I went back and I reread those assignments. I really did, and it was really fun. And when I was putting names with what I know about you now, it was quite a journey back 2 years ago. I want to share with you today some of the things that you wrote in that assignment about what makes high-performing teams. You wrote about how teams with a diverse array of people sometimes take longer to reach their goals, but the end result is better for it. Almost all of you wrote about the importance of building diverse teams with people who bring different strengths, worldviews, ways of problem solving, and personal backgrounds to the work. So here's some of your comments, your own words. Some of you will, well, obviously some of you will recognize these comments. You wrote them. One of you wrote, "This class reminded me of an old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." Another one of you wrote this, "It's easy to spot a good team. They are scrappy, sometimes loud, often animated. They know how to disagree, and then they figure out how to move on from there and get the work done. Everyone is involved. It's even easier, though, to spot a bad team because they all think alike, they seem to behave alike, and often they sound alike. You can almost predict the outcome of their work before they even get started." And one of you wrote this. So let me close by trying to practice what I'm preaching. If you are one of those inclusive, outgoing types, please know that I am not. Still, I want to work with you. You may not notice me at first, but try to see me. You are awesome and amazing, and so am I. And they close by saying, "Pick me for the next kickball team." So I was sharing these thoughts about the class, about what you wrote, about my thinking about what you wrote, and how I see it relating to this question of what does it take to advance really effective public policy. I was sharing these thoughts with a friend and a colleague who is an associate dean in the College of Biological Sciences. And as he listened to me, he started telling me about the Shannon Index, which I had never heard of. Some of you may well have heard about this before. I had not. And how he thinks that we would all benefit from applying the Shannon Index to our own lives. So, of course, I had to say, what are you talking about? What is the Shannon Index? And I have to tell you, in recent weeks, I have read just about everything I can about this measure, this index, because it's so fascinating to me. So I'm going to tell you what it is. And for those of you in the audience who are biologists, I apologize for greatly simplifying what I now have come to realize is a very complex index. But here, in a nutshell, is the Shannon Index, taken right from that great source, Wikipedia. In biology, the Shannon Index is a measure of heterogeneity or diversity as an indication of well-being, strength, and sustainability. It is a quantitative measure that reflects how many different types, such as a species, there are in a data set, such as a community, and simultaneously takes into account how evenly the basic entities, such as individuals, are distributed among those types. So drawing on your comments about the value of group differences in trying to get something done, and again, I see this as directly related to my question about what it takes to advance good policy or practice, I ask you to join me in thinking about how we might apply this concept of the Shannon Index to our own lives moving forward. In your future work, you will be charged to think about this for whole communities or departments or agencies. You've heard the senator, you've heard Amina, you've heard Dean Eric Schwartz talk about what's happening in the world. We've been talking about that a lot. I want you to think about this for you, today or tomorrow. What can any one of us do to engage with people who see the world differently by virtue of their age or their gender or their political affiliation, their faith tradition, their race, country of origin, or economic status? What can any one of us do to see, really see, and acknowledge and leverage in a good way those differences? Realize that acknowledgement, especially when it comes to political or ideological or religious beliefs, does not signal agreement. It simply signals recognition. Seeing differences, honestly and purely noticing the differences among us, does not signal racism or sexism or ageism or homophobia or Islamophobia. There are times when, in fact, ignoring those differences, not seeing those differences, is the far greater risk to us. I suggest we cultivate the discipline of asking ourselves, of me asking myself, and you asking yourself, who do we listen to when we want to learn about the world? Where do we go for information? How and with whom do we build our network? With whom do we share a meal? Who do we invite into our homes? And then maybe we can ask ourselves, what is the dimension of this effort to build heterogeneity that is hardest for us to cultivate in our own personal community, in our own personal lives? And are we willing to accept that for ourselves? Or do we want to change that? Do we want to change how we might score on our own personal Shannon Index? And if we want to change that, what are we willing to do? What are we going to do to achieve it? I want to call your attention for a moment to the flags above our heads on both sides of the hall. These are the flags that represent students in this graduating class who come from countries outside of the United States. In many instances, the family members of students from these countries are also here with us today. I had the great privilege of meeting many of them last night at the HISA, the Humphrey International Students Association organization gathering, and I had the great honor of talking with them. And it also made me wonder, what can we do to continue to keep people from other countries, people with whom we've built a relationship, close in our own personal networks in a way that is helping us to understand the differences that, to draw on the Shannon Index, are a measure of strength, well-being, vitality, and sustainability in our own communities. I have to think that if we have this discipline for ourselves, if we truly cultivate this discipline for ourselves, we may never again, for instance, see 13 people who are alike along multiple dimensions making healthcare decisions for a world that has people in it directly impacted by that work that don't look anything like them. So I really encourage you to think about what this might mean for you. And I want to close again by turning to one of the comments that you shared in that Working in Teams class 2 years ago when we first started talking about this notion of heterogeneity in what you personally do and how you personally advance the kind of policy you want to see in the world. And again, for those of you in the audience, one of you may recognize this because it invokes a parent. You wrote, "When I was growing up, my mom used to always tell me about something that Arthur Ashe would say when asked how he achieved success. And he said something that I think applies to my own role in building a successful team and getting work done that I want to do in the world." And then one of you wrote, if I don't have the quote exactly right, blame my mom, it's how she said it. Arthur Ashe would say, "Start where you are, use what you've got, and do what you can today." Start where you are, use what you've got, and do what you can today. Good advice to follow. Again, hearty congratulations to all of you, graduating class of 2017. I'm very proud to know you. And now we come to what is probably the most anticipated part of the program. We will welcome a new class of graduates. Our graduates will be presented by faculty members specific to their degree program, who are all noted in your printed programs. This year, we are pleased, delighted really, to celebrate our first two ever graduates from the Humphrey School PhD in Public Affairs program. This is a program that we launched in 2014 with a cohort of just 7 students. We will matriculate our next class in the fall and have a collective total of 32 students who have gone through the program. Today, we recognize the first 2 graduates of that program, and Professor Greg Lindsay, who will assume the duties of PhD Director next month, will announce the names of the PhD graduates. Greg, will you please join me?
Thank you, Laura. This is such an exciting milestone for the Humphrey School, and it's my honor and privilege to announce our first 2 graduates today. Academic tradition is that PhD students are hooded on stage by their faculty advisor or another member of the faculty who has been particularly important in their academic accomplishments. This hooding process is different than for the master's degrees. You may have noticed that during the procession that the master's candidates are already wearing their hoods, but the PhD candidates will carry them on stage for a ceremonial hooding. Our first PhD recipient is Greg Colburn. Greg's track within the PhD program is Public Policy, and his dissertation title is The Use of Markets in Social Policy, Welfare Recipients as Market Participants. Greg will be hooded today by Professor Jody Sanford. Our second PhD recipient is Andrew Guthrie. Andrew's track within the PhD of Public Affairs is Urban Planning, and his dissertation title is Favorable Conditions for and Active Promotion of Transit-Oriented Development and Economic Development. Andrew will be hooded by Associate Professor Catherine Crick. Congratulations to both Andrew and Greg.
And now for our master's degrees. While I am Associate Dean, I am also the Director of Graduate Studies for the Master of Public Policy program, and I have the honor of presenting our candidates for this degree. Ready? Luna J. Allen Bakirian Devane. Mark Biesenin. Lauren Bloom. Michael Bloomquist. Colin Bradley. Oh wait, no, am I out of order? Nicola Barmbila. Yes, I got it. Casey Casella. Simon Cecil. Ashfaqul Chowdhury. Emily Clary. Mickey Kuko. Haley Kramer. Taylor Crouch. Michael Davis II. Christina Doan. Laura Doan. William Duma. Jargalma Erden Mondak. Camila Fonseca Sarmiento. John Frood. Scott Fusco. Alisa Gary. Hannah Grunwald. Carlos Huerca. Kirsten Henry. Robert Hest. Heather Heyer. Jennifer Higano. Hattie Heiler. Betsy Joseph. Elise Holmes. Alyssa Holterman. James Hovey. Evan Romata. Alyssa Johnson. Julia Johnson. Maggie Kane. Lawrence Carango. Hannah Kvinji. Aaron Lee. Sumi Lee. Alexis Losi. Stephen Lutz. Dominic McQuarrie. Ashton Miller. Betsy Mueller. Hamza Muse. Rebecca Nelson. Suzanne O. Jonathan Oppenheimer. Sophie Pilhofer. Abby Pluff. Alma Pronove. Claire Sarathakis. Angela Rife. Kaylin Rogers. Amina Safi. Alexandra Savette. Amelia Schindler. Odell Shukuzade. Jonathan Spiegler. Amani Stumi Berry. Yu Sun. Hannah Terwilliger. Aaron Trodson. Karina Turbess. Margaret Vaz. Wenchen Wang. Madeline Welter. Monglin Wu. Jennifer Westman. Yue Yu. And now I would like to invite Professor Raghi Assad to step to the podium to present our candidates for the Master of Development Practice.
Oyudari Batertsoget. Famara Damfa. Sean Haydorn. Anthony Maikuri. June Nkwenge. Lillian Osborne. Caitlin Rolfs. Johanna Tatlow. Maria Camila Viaraga Ahgulu. Moses Waiswa. Now I'll present our single graduating student from the Masters of Human Rights. Marin Phelps. Now I'll introduce Professor Jody Sanford, who will introduce the graduates from the Masters of Public Affairs.
Adan Ahmad. Margie Andreessen. Rosemary Burns-Velez. Marilyn Byrne. Janine Chambers. Barrett Christus. Isadora Tabu. Thomas DeVita. Daniel Daham. Nkeo DePaule. Maram Falk. Kathleen Finnegan Lamy. Peter Huff. Chad Osland. Kendra Raymaker. Brenda K. Rivera. Donna Roper. Woo Suk Song. Charles Tombarge. And now I would like to invite my Professor Anu Ramaswamy to the podium to begin the Masters in Science and Technology Policy.
Kate Gerke. Aaron Hansen. Mauricio Leon. Jill Rook. Halston Sleets. And I now invite Professor Greg Lindsay to read out the names of the Masters in Urban and Regional Planning.
Corey Anderson. Benjamin Andrews. Sarah Arnold. Shannon Crabtree. Amy Frisch. Sadie Gannett. Hannah Gary. Sean Hayford O'Leary. Daniel Harrigus. Jennifer Cater. Brian Kays. Eric King. Alexander Kleppen. Jacqueline Kramer. Joseph Lampe. Daniela Lorenz. Shengnan Liu. Chloe McGuire Briggle. Tara Ossendorf. Kevin Priestley. Gracia Ratzloff. Connor Schaefer. Marguerite Sokola. Elizabeth Showalter. Jared Staley. Sarah Strain. June Tong. Maria Wardoku. Faith Zhang. And Alan Young. It's my pleasure to welcome Regent Abdul Amari to confer the degrees.
Good afternoon. All right, we got 6 people in the room. Good afternoon. Thank you. So I was reflecting upon my time at the Humphrey, and I graduated 7 years ago. And there's one thing that I didn't do when I graduated then, but I did do when I finished my doctorate 2 years ago. And I encourage you all to do this as well. At some point, after you've thanked your families, things have kind of died down, take a moment to just be. Put your phones away, maybe put on some Prince. But just be and enjoy the accomplishment that you just embarked upon and have finished this degree, and allow yourselves to be present in the moment. Congratulations to incoming Dean Bloomberg. That was one of my favorite votes yesterday at the Regent level. Congratulations, Dean Schwartz, on your next journey. I look forward to seeing you back. Without further ado, as you are able, would the graduates please rise? Upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority granted to the regents, I now confer upon each of you the degree for which you have qualified. Congratulations.
I think you can sit down now, right? Yes. Well, congratulations on your wonderful achievements. And you are now members of an august group of alumni throughout this community and throughout the world. And to welcome you to the ranks of the alumni, it is my pleasure to introduce the president-elect of our Alumni Society Board, Carrie Blevins. Carrie has a 30-year-long career working in nonprofits and institutional philanthropy. She received her Master of Public Affairs with a concentration in nonprofit management and leadership in 2011 and founded Carrie Blevins Consulting in 2014, which provides philanthropic management and strategy consultation to institutional donors. So please join me in welcoming Carrie Blevins. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, Dean. On behalf of the Alumni Association, Alumni Society, and the University of Minnesota Alumni Association, it's my honor to congratulate all of you. As the Dean said, I received my MPA in January 2011, and my opportunity to attend commencement was that following spring. At the time, I was the mother of 2 teenage children and pursuing a career in philanthropy. Life was busy, and I elected not to take the time to attend this ceremony. I regretted that decision because I didn't take the time to stop for a moment and bask in the glow of this achievement with my family and the Humphrey community. Thank you for allowing me to be with you today to bask in your glow. As alums of the Humphrey School, our professional paths are varied. We are elected officials, analysts, lobbyists, researchers, managers, and academics serving government, business, and nonprofits. Our training from the Humphrey School prepares us to make a true and real difference. Maintaining a connection to the Humphrey School can sustain us in our work. As you pursue your career in public service, make the Humphrey School part of your community of practice through the Humphrey Alumni Society. Share your achievements, your challenges, and your dreams. Look to the alumni community for guidance and perspective as you navigate your career. For me, maintaining the connection to the Humphrey School has been central to my career since graduation. The guidance of Humphrey faculty and friends helped me to refocus my career in ways that are more fulfilling to me and I believe having greater impact. The Humphrey Alumni Society also provides a means for you to share your experience and wisdom with those who are forming their career in public affairs. As alums, we can encourage prospective students to pursue a career in the public sphere or mentor a student as they pursue their Humphrey training. Today, each of you become an ambassador of one of the nation's top public policy, teaching, and research institutions. Don't underestimate the opportunities your training will afford you or the respect the Humphrey brand carries. Use these to make a positive, permanent difference. And while you're out there making the world a better place, remember to stay in touch. Thank you and congratulations.
Well, thank you, Carrie. And on behalf of the Humphrey School community, I want to congratulate all of you on a job well done. Students, family members, friends, and faculty. A special thanks to all of you in the audience who have supported these Humphrey students during their time at our school. Now, it is our turn to watch you all go out and change the world in so many ways. So that concludes this afternoon's program. I ask that you please remain seated for the recessional. We're trying to figure out which side of the stage we should exit. I'm being told that way, so it makes me feel much calmer. Students and their families are invited to take photographs by our professional photographer in the lobby, and I really hope that you'll all join us for a reception with refreshments on the patio behind the concert hall. Again, thank you all for celebrating with us this afternoon. Thank you again.